Hey all you super players out there, Ben Lodice aka 5 Buck Lunch, coming at you with the deck profile for the match that I put up earlier this week, which is 5-color androids. I'll put up the 5-color U7 deck probably sometime next week. And you notice this video is a little different than my normal deck profiles. Normally I have like a very fancy one where the images come in and out, but I'm not completely done with this deck yet in terms of design, so I don't really want to make that video yet. I try to make those videos after I've kind of finished building a deck and tested with it a little bit. And since I haven't finished that yet, I just kind of want to go over this deck a little bit and kind of in a more informal video. We'll be back to those kind of fancier deck profile type videos next week. But for starters, the leader is Android 17 and 18 Diabolical Duo. What those do is on the front side it can awaken at 6, and all of your regular Android 17 and 18s get their non-specific energy cost reduced by 1. So it allows you to play things like Android 18 Never-Ending Energy and Android 17 Rebel Reinforcements for 1 energy less, which makes a big deal in terms of the card's playability. You probably wouldn't normally want a 2-drop 15k negate, but if it's a 1-drop 15k negate, it becomes significantly better. On the flip side, once you get down to 4 life, it gains 5k attack, and all of your other Android 17, 18s also gain 5k attack. So it turns a lot of these kind of middling cards into much more powerful attackers. The other interesting thing about this and why you can play it in 5 colors is because as of the new draft box, we now have Android cards in all 5 colors, and that allows with generic searchers. So we have cards that are in, for example, green. The green negate Android 17 says when it's played, you can choose up to 1 battle card. Energy costs 4 or less as Android, and it's named from your deck and placed in your drop area. So that doesn't specify color. You can search out whatever colors you're missing. Same with things like Dr. Duro Evil's Inventor. It just looks for an Android in the top 3. It doesn't specify a color. So this allows us to filter through and get to all our colors extremely easily. Also, given the fact that we have a leader that awakens at 6 and it draws 2 when it awakens, we also can gain massive card advantage very quickly, allowing us to get to all our colors. The other thing that allows this deck to function is the fact that it has like an actual really, really powerful endgame in the Vegeta and Goku Strength of Legends. And for those of you that don't know, the Vegeta, you can play it for 4 if you play it for 1 of each energy type, so red, blue, green, yellow. And then when you play it, you can choose one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, and warp it, which is probably the best form of removal that the game has right now. It's unrestricted, gets around barrier, and it doesn't send to the drop. When it attacks, it draws a card, and that's not a once per turn auto, and it has double strike dual attack. So on turn 4, you get to plop down a 30k dual strike, dual attack, double strike, draw 2 cards, kill a battle, warp a battle card, ignoring barrier. You get all those effects for 4 energy, which is probably more than any other card in the game in terms of paying 4 energy to get an effect. It literally just does everything. Draws cards, removes problems, and puts on pressure. And to be able to drop this on 4 and then again on 5, it's very, very difficult to deal with. We also have Son Goku Strength of Legends, which for this one you can only have 1 copy in your battle area. Vegeta you can have multiple copies. There's no actual restrictions on him, which means a lot of times Vegeta's actually going to be better. But it's active main. If you have 1 of each color energy in your drop, you can play them for free. So right away, having the ability to play both these cards on turn 4 is pretty massive. It gives you 5 attacks that are higher than 30k, 2 of which have double strike, and that's ignoring all the other effects you get off Vegeta. But Son Goku also has the effect of you can pay 1 of each color once per turn, and you can switch it to active mode. It gains critical, double strike, and dual attack. Why this is important is because the new yellow decks want to tap your battle cards when they come into play. They want to play things like Giant Ball and Champa and things like that, and Goku just gets around those. Because if they Giant Ball him when he comes into play, you can just activate his effect, untap him, and now you have all your attacks. The thing that's worse about Goku than Vegeta, though, is since in order to untap him and give him all his critical double strike dual attack, you have to pay every turn. So a lot of times what you're going to do is you're going to drop Vegeta on 4, Goku on 4, use Goku to clear a battle card that you didn't kill with Vegeta, or it's just a big 35k attacker. And ideally, you want to use both of those. If you don't have both, Goku can work by himself on the first turn, but he's going to be much weaker on the second turn when you're trying to close out the game because you have to pay all 4 energy again to use this effect. So that's kind of how we're winning the game. Now I want to kind of go to how we get there and how we can incorporate all these colors into our deck. So for red and yellow, those are the two where we're only playing 8 cards of the color. We're playing 4 Frieza Death's Embrace. This is just because it's just a generically good card that's a 1-drop. And the reason we need a 1-drop red card is because Android 17 Rebel Reinforcements is a 1 red, 1 generic counterattack negate. And then when you play it, you can play a red battle card with energy cost of 1 from your drop area. So it allows you, and since it's an Android 17, it's actually only be playing for 1 red. So we can pay 1 red to get our 15k. If we're under 4, it gets 5k from our leader, so it's a 20k attacker. Bring in Frieza and draw a card, which is just a lot of effects, obviously, for a 1 red. For yellow, which is down here, we're playing 4 of Android 20 Mastermind Architect. The reason for that is we want to play a lot of 1-drops that filter through our deck and get us to all our colors and to get us to our Strength of Legends. So when it's put in play, it draws a card, which is a simple, good effect. Also, the off chance is another win condition. We can active main for 2 green and a yellow and bring back any Android 17, Android 18 from our drop and put them in play, which as you can see later is going to be pretty devastating in terms of what combinations we can do. For example, we can put in play a 25k draw 2 cards and a 25k barrier blocker that kills a card for 3 energy, which obviously is pretty powerful. You won't use that too often though. It's kind of, if you don't have a Strength of Legend, it's another alternate way to kind of play the game and apply pressure. We're also playing 4 Android 15 Vicious Vendetta. If our leader card is green, when we combo with it, we can put it in play from our hand in rest mode. And then we play in a card during our opponent's turn. We could choose a green energy and switch to active mode, and then take 1 or 2 cards from our life and add it to our hand. This is our Self-Awakening, in case we need it. And it's also an android that can come into play. We're not going to use it much for that. Mostly it's just for Self-Awakening and the fact that it's a yellow android, so we can pitch it off of our android and search it off our android effects, and it's a yellow card, obviously. So next we're going to talk about blue, which is our first core color. Blue and green are our core colors. We're playing 2 Android 18 Speedy Substitution. This is just a Android, 1-drop Android that looks at the top 5, chooses a blue or green Android, and adds it to your hand. The other side of this we're pretty much never going to use. We're playing Rushi and Kutsu as our only multicolor cards in the deck. You may think it's weird that a deck that's playing 5 colors isn't playing any multicolor, except for this one. And the reason for that is it's too hard for us to play the free multicolor check energies because we're playing so many different colors and they specify their color combinations. And before I wasn't actually playing any multicolor energies because we really want to be able to use all of our energy every turn. This deck is super, super energy efficient in terms of what you can do. You'll be using your energy like every turn, all your energy like every turn between playing your cards and negating your opponents, so we don't really want to put things in play tapped. That being said, I ran into a problem with playing both Android 17 Turning the Tide and Limitless Energy Android 17. So the first 4 turns are going to be playing 1 of each color. And then on turn 5, in order to play Turning the Tide on 6, because it only costs 6 because it's Android 17, we have to charge 2 blue energies in a row on turn 5 and on turn 6 because it has a 3 specific blue cost. However, if we do that, we can't play Android 17 because it has 2 specific green costs. So the way we got around that is at some point we want to play Urumishi and Kyushu so that we can play Android 17 at some point in the game if we still want, while still maintaining the ability to play Android 17 Turning the Tide on turn 6. And the reason for that is this can come and play untapped, and all we have to do is warp a blue and a green card from our drop, which is actually very easy for our deck to do because blue and green are our main 2 colors, and because we're already sending cards to our drop normally. So for the most part, you're always going to be able to play it untapped. So that's why we're playing that card, and that is the only multicolor card we're playing. The new cards in the draft box that made the strategy actually viable, because previously all the blue Android cards were dependent on clone tokens, which obviously we're not doing in this deck, is Android 17 Never-Ending Energy, which is one of the best cards in the deck. In our deck, it becomes a 2-drop, 25k draw 2 cards when it comes into play. Pretty simple why that's good. We also get Android 17 Turning the Tide, which is our late game win con. It is a 6-drop in our deck, 35k critical, deflect. When you play this card, choose all cards in your hand and your opponent's hand, and all battle cards in your opponent's drop area, shuffle them in your opponent's decks, and your owner's decks. So we can just drop this on 6. Our opponent can't stop it because it's got deflect. And assuming we have any kind of board presence with between dropping Android 18s, Android 17 negates, and if our opponent can't remove our strength, both our strength of legends immediately, and we drop this, the game is just instantly over because they don't have anything to defend themselves, and we're going to gain cards back with Vegeta and have a lot of high attack attackers due to our leader boosting pretty much every attacker in our deck by 5k. So now we're going to go into the green cards in the deck. One of the key cards is Android 17 Impending Crisis. This is a 1-drop green negate that is an Android 17. And then when you play it, if your leader's an Android card, which ours is, you could choose up to 1 battle card, energy cost of 4 or less with Android in its name from your deck and place it in your drop area. So this simply allows us to put any Android in our drop, and we can just pick whatever color we're missing and put it in the drop. And it's a 1-cost negate, which as you can see, we're playing a lot of negates because we need to be able to defend ourselves, but all of our negates are 1 energy, which allows us to be very mana efficient or energy efficient. Another important thing I want to point out about the green-blue multi is it allows us to put double green in play earlier, which means we can play 2 green negates since 8 of our 12 negates are green. We're playing 2 Create Android. This is kind of a card I'm kind of on the fence about. I haven't decided whether it's good enough or not, but it does allow us to put cards in our drop and draw cards, which is both things we're trying to do. Dr. Jiro, Evil's Inventor, allows us to look at the top 3 and grab an Android. Shocking Death Ball is our free negate, and it can clear lower battle cards as well. We're playing Defending Father Pargus as our super combo and not like an Android or a multicolor super combo because we want that filter. We need to get to our cards, and we need to get to our cards efficiently. Also, it's very useful because we can warp our Android 15 Vicious Vendetta, which is a 10k card. One thing you'll notice about this deck is it is almost exclusively 5k cards. Since it has so much draw, we are going to be able to out-combo our opponent almost all the time because it has so many ways to draw cards and so few 10k combos. Android 18-minute Danger is another card I'm trying out that I'm kind of on the fence about a little bit. It's just active main 1. If your leader's an Android, you can send it from your drop to your warp to add a green or yellow Android card with energy cost of 1 and add it to your hand. Basically, it recurs our Impending Crisis negates, and I guess in a pinch it can recur our Mastermind Architect. But for the most part, it's just something we can send off our Android 17 to gain ourselves advantage if we already have our 4 colors in drop. Limitless Energy, Android 17. This is another really good card. In this deck, it's a 3-cost barrier blocker, 25k, that KOs a battle card when it comes into play. Pretty simple, just a powerful card in general. So that's all the cards on the deck. So basically your overall strategy is going to be turn 1 through 4. You're going to charge 1 of each color energy. You're going to play Android 18s to draw cards, and you're going to play Vicious Vendetta in order to awaken yourself. In the meantime, you're going to be playing your 1-drops like Frieza, Android 20, and Jiro, Evil's Inventor in order to draw cards and gain advantage. And you're going to use negates in specific circumstances. If you're playing against a rush deck, this deck plays 12 negates, so it's actually pretty easy to defend yourself. Your game plan here is to get to turn 4. If that involves... if in order to do that, you need to keep all your energy open and not play cards, pretty much the only one you should be playing whenever you have it is Android 18 Never Running Energy, just because it's so much advantage for no reason. So, but other than that, feel free if you're playing against a rush deck like the Black Gotek, not Gotenks, Vegix, I don't even know how to pronounce his name, Vegix, or if you're playing against Gohan, feel free to just keep negates, keep open, and protect yourself, because it's pretty hard to actually kill through this deck, especially since you get to awaken at 4 or at 6, so you get that influx of cards right away. And then on turn 4, ideally we want to have both of these, Vegeta and Goku. We want to slap down the Goku first, see how they react. A lot of times it'll draw out their counters, in which case you can drop the Vegeta, and then you can draw your cards and clear all their battle cards. And then it's going to be pretty difficult for them to clear both of these. And on turn 5, you just drop another one, or you make like a player with Android 20, or you can drop even Limitless Energy plus like an Android 18. That's 5 energy right there. There's just a lot of things you can do, and then you just keep up pressure. And then on turn 6, if you do end up getting behind, and say your opponent's playing some deck that just draws a lot of cards, or if you're playing against like a hand destruction deck and they're just ripping your hand, you can rely on Android 17 on turn 6 to basically reset the game. It doesn't matter how many cards they have in their hand. If you drop Android 17, it's all going away, and you're going back to card advantage parity. So don't be afraid if you're playing against a hand destruction deck or something like that. On turn like 4 and 5, if they manage to remove your Strength of Legend, to just play for the Android 17 and use all the cards in your hand to stop damage and then plop that down and try and go for game. So yeah, there's a lot of ways to win, a lot of real intricacies to the deck. It's one of the most fun decks I've played in a while, to be honest. And I'm pretty excited to test it in person. My locals is opening today, so I'm pretty excited to go up there and play a little bit there. But yeah, if you have any ideas, like I said, the reason I'm not doing like a full in-depth uh, deck profile is because I want opinions on this. I feel like there's a lot of things that could be played in terms of numbers going up and going down. Is Create Android actually good? Is Android Imminent Danger necessary? I think the deck's at 54 cards right now, so we could drop some cards in general. I'm thinking about playing another Android 17 and dropping, turning the tide and dropping a speedy substitution. Just a lot of little tweaks, and I want your guys' opinions on that. So yeah, in the comments, give me some opinions, give me some thoughts. I really think this deck is actually viable, and it's kind of a deck that no one's really tried yet. So yeah, go out there, play some Super, and have some fun.